Israeli genocidal troops shelled the Nuseirat refugee camp on Monday, leaving many dead and wounded. In the United States, President-elect Donald Trump will ask the State Department not to grant birthright citizenship as of January 20th. In Cuba, authorities registered a 6.1 magnitude earthquake in eastern provinces. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Nuseirat from teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. In Palestine on Monday, Israeli genocidal troops shelled the Nuseirat refugee camp in the Gaza Strip, leaving many dead and wounded. According to medical sources, at least 5 people were killed and over 20 were injured. The northwest of the Palestinian enclave where this refugee camp is located has been under attack since early Monday morning. In this context, Zionist troops hit a school that housed refugees, killing one. So far, Israel's genocidal onslaught has killed 45,259 people in Gaza, more than 70% of whom are women and children, a figure that is not conclusive as there are thousands of bodies still under the rubble. Also in Palestine, the Israeli army continues to carry out attacks against the Kamal Adwan hospital. According to local media, medical personnel made an urgent call for the intervention of the health center in order to protect patients and medical staff as the situation deteriorates. They also stressed that the attacks caused extensive damage and cut off communication with medical teams, particularly in the women's maternity and neonatal wards. This is the second attack in less than 24 hours, leaving at least 3 dead and 24 wounded. And UNRWA Commissioner General Philip Lazzarini stressed that all the rules of war have been violated against Palestine. Through his social media, the UNRWA Commissioner General reiterated his calls for a ceasefire and the immediate release of hostages, stressing that there has been an escalation of the genocide against Gaza in the last 24 hours. He also reported that more civilians have been killed and wounded and that attacks on schools and hospitals have become a regular occurrence. In this regard, the Commissioner further stressed that a ceasefire in Gaza is long overdue. And winter is raging in the Gaza Strip, and many of the nearly 2 million Palestinians displaced by Israel's devastating genocide are struggling to protect themselves from the wind, cold, and rain. Let's see.
There is a shortage of blankets and warm clothing. Little wood for the fire, and the patched tents and tarpaulins in which the families live are becoming increasingly threadbare after months of intensive use, and with hardly any humanitarian aid due to the Israeli blockade. All this while the cold winter is becoming more and more present with no relief for the families.
We go inside our tents after sunset and don't go out because it is very cold, and it gets colder by midnight.
وندخل على الخيمة صحيح نعاني من برد يعني خاصة في أواسط الليل في الساعة 12 واحدة تنتين.
My 7-year-old daughter almost cries at night because of how cold she is.
يعني إذا كانت تبكي في الليل من كثرة وشدة البرد. حتى لو بدنا نولع نار وين بدنا نولع نار في مكان مغلق.
Even if we want to light a fire, where would we light it in an enclosed place like this, inside a tent? Even outside the tent, we have fear because of the occupation aircraft. More than one accident happened and several tents were struck due to setting fires. So we suffer from this issue, and we rejoice when the morning comes, because we suffer from extreme cold at night.
شديد جدا جدا في أواسط الليل.
The United Nations has warned of people living in precarious makeshift shelters who may not survive the winter. At least 945,000 people are in need of winter supplies, which have become prohibitively expensive in Gaza due to shortage. In addition, the United Nations also fears that infectious diseases, which spiked last winter, will rise again due to increased malnutrition. The United Nations Reliefs and Works Agency for Palestinian Refugees has been planning all year for winter in Gaza. But the aid it has been able to get into the territory is not even close to being enough for the people. The agency distributed 6,000 tents over the past 4 weeks in northern Gaza, but was unable to get them to other parts of the Strip. Some 22,000 tents are blocked in Jordan, and 600,000 blankets and 33 truckloads of mattresses have remained in Egypt since the summer because the agency does not have Israeli approval or a safe route to get them into Gaza, and because it has had to prioritize desperately needed food aid. Meanwhile, the displaced are trying to survive on what little they have.
No proper clothes, no socks, nothing. We never expected to live such a life. My house was so good in the north. Our blankets are very thin. They never warms us. We feel the moisture from the ground, and the cold is killing us. We wake up in the morning freezing. Do you know what freezing means? We are shivering from the cold.
The Israeli government has said that it has coordinated with various international agencies to send aid to Gaza to prepare the coastal enclave for winter. But the truth is that no aid has arrived, and winter now seems to be another weapon in the hands of Israel to continue carrying out its genocide.
In our news, Palestinian musicians tour refugee camps to teach displaced children how to sing and play instruments. All this in the midst of the Israeli genocide against the Gaza Strip. Let's see.
Despite the poor conditions resulting from the humanitarian crisis affecting the Palestinians, groups of musicians decided to give music lessons in the Rafah camps.
My colleagues are helping me with this initiative. The idea came about because of the difficult conditions in Rafah, where I was staying in a shelter for artists during the war. The psychological conditions were very bad, and it occurred to me to take up the guitar and sing with the children in the camp.
The idea of this Palestinian artist is to promote a different perspective of life, despite the chaotic environment and the lack of requirements to meet the daily needs of the population.
The people in the camps did not fully understand the idea of music, as their priorities during the war were food, water, and shelter. Despite these difficulties, I insisted on my position and continued with the initiative. Thank God, people began to realize the importance of music.
Soon, however, a group of musicians joined the tour of each refugee camp to bring a little joy through music and art in the midst of the devastation caused by the Israeli occupation in the Palestinian territory.
We had left Beit Hanan. We didn't have any musical instruments. I spent 3 months looking for an instrument so that I could teach the children. Despite all these difficulties, we managed to carry on and bring joy to the children in the midst of these difficult circumstances.
The Palestinian people are making efforts to maintain hope in the midst of the difficult circumstances they have been facing for the past year and 2 months, when Israel intensified the siege that led to the genocide they are living through today, which has claimed more than 45,259 martyrs.
We now have a short break coming up, but first remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. In the United States, President-elect Donald Trump will ask the State Department not to grant birthright citizenship as of January 20th. According to the President-elect's team, among the eventual measures for Trump's second administration will be not issuing passports to children with undocumented parents and tightening requirements for tourist visas. In this sense, Trump, as a candidate, developed his 2024 election campaign with an anti-immigrant rhetoric and promised the largest deportations in the U.S. history. Sources familiar with the issue assured that the plans of not granting birthright citizenship would end in a legal battle that would go all the way to the Supreme Court. U.S. President-elect Donald Trump reiterated his threats to Panamanian officials, assuring that if they do not follow the relevant instructions, they will have to hand over the Panama Canal to Washington properly and without question. In a statement, Trump stressed that if the Panamanian government fails to comply with orders, he will demand that the interoceanic waterway be returned to Washington in its entirety. Likewise, the U.S. President-elect emphasized that if Panama cannot respect the historic agreements or guarantee a safe, efficient, and reliable operation of the canal, then it should be taken away from them. Furthermore, Donald Trump assured that the United States will not tolerate that Panama wants to ignore its instructions.
But it was given to Panama and to the people of Panama, but it has provisions. You got to treat us fairly, and they haven't treated us fairly. If the principles, both moral and legal, of this magnanimous gesture of giving are not followed, then we will demand that the Panama Canal be returned to the United States of America in full, quickly, and without question. I'm not going to stand for it. So to the officials of Panama, please be guided accordingly.
And in the midst of the outlook on the statements made by United States President-elect Donald Trump regarding the Panama Canal, Panamanian President José Raúl Mulino reaffirmed that the country's sovereignty over the canal is non-negotiable.
As president, I want to express precisely that every square meter of the Panama Canal and its adjacent areas belongs to Panama and will continue to belong to Panama. The sovereignty and independence of our country are not negotiable. Every Panamanian here or anywhere in the world has it in his heart, and it is part of our history of struggle and an irreversible conquest. The Torrijos-Carter Treaties of 1977 agreed the dissolution of the former canal zone, recognizing the Panamanian sovereignty and the complete surrender of the canal to Panama, which ended on December 31st, 1999, and soon we will celebrate the 25th anniversary of this transfer. Since then, there were no objections or claims. On the contrary, it has been a reason for strong international support and national pride.
Ha sido motivo de fuerte apoyo internacional.
Russian Defense Ministry announced Monday that its armed forces liberated the major Starosvets village in Donetsk. The military briefing ensured that liberating such village, located about 5 kilometers southwest of Velikia Novoslika's town, was a key breakthrough. It is worth remarking that Starosvets is close to Zaporizhia, where the Russian army has been deployed. Meanwhile, the Ukrainian troops have suffered casualties in the 46th and 79th Brigades, according to Russian war correspondents. Moreover, they claim that to be trapped in what they describe as the Kurakovo sack. In all, the heaviest clashes are being staged between the Selanovka and Ulakli areas, where the key interception for the transit of troops and vehicles to Zaporizhia is located. And Switzerland announced that it will not hold a second conference on Ukraine, stressing that it is preparing to hold ceasefire talks. The Swiss diplomatic department specified that the main issue now is the preparation for the ceasefire talks. For its part, the Russian embassy in Bern declared its readiness for a constructive dialogue on the situation in Ukraine, with the Swiss representatives recalling that the attempts of the Western countries to impose the Kiev-style peace formula on Russia will not change the situation. And the alliance of Sahel states made up of Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger declares itself on high alert following the actions of the Economic Community of West African States. ECOWAS extended the suspension of 3 countries for another 6 months. Its leaders claim that this is a unilateral decision that prevents successful cooperation between the 2 alliances. They describe the decision as an attempt at destabilization by a few heads of state of the alliance and warned that they are serving imperialist and neocolonialist ambitions. The alliance of Sahel states accuses foreign powers of carrying out a false withdrawal from the region. We have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel at teleSUR English. There you'll be able to rewatch our interviews, top stories, special broadcastings, and more. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back. A 6.1 magnitude earthquake shook eastern Cuba early Monday morning. The National Center for Seismological Research reported that the tremor was registered at 1 a.m. local time. Preliminary data from the entity indicate that it occurred some 35 kilometers southwest of Chivirico, main town of Guamán municipality in Santiago de Cuba. Experts further detailed that the earthquake has been felt in Santiago de Cuba, Guantánamo, Camagüey, and Ciego de Ávila. In addition, the authority reported there are no registered deaths, injured, or significant material damage, noting they keep monitoring the seismological activity in the area. And in Mexico, President Claudia Sheinbaum ratified to the President-elect of the United States that she will not accept any type of interference. In this way, she responded to the declarations of the Republican Donald Trump, who stated among the range of intimidations he made on Sunday to several countries in the world that he would declare the Mexican cartels as terrorist organizations. In this context, the head of state ratified that she maintains the same tenor of previous communications with the next president and reminded that the world that Mexico is not subordinate to the United States.
I said it in the letter I wrote to President Donald Trump, who will take office in January of next year. The drugs are mainly consumed there.
Allá se consume la droga, principalmente. De allá vienen las armas.
The weapons come from there, and here we put our lives. No, we collaborate, coordinate, work together, but we will never subordinate ourselves. Mexico is a free, sovereign, and independent country, and we do not accept interference in our country.
In El Salvador, social movements continue to protest the thousands of layoffs being implemented by the government as a pressure from the International Monetary Fund to reduce public spending. During the activity called El Cacerolazo, social organizations expressed their rejection of the illegal layoffs carried out by the government of President Nayib Bukele. Demonstrators also expressed their concern for the impact that these cuts have on essential public services, highlighting the closure of healthcare units. It should be noted that the layoffs affected employees of ministries, autonomous agencies, municipalities, and entities such as the Supreme Court of Justice and the Supreme Electoral Court. And the Venezuelan government works intensively on the development of the 18 key sectors of the economy as part of the national plan for the country's recovery. Oil Minister Delcy Rodriguez supervised the production system capacity of the Western Basin in Zulia State and inspected the Ana Maria Campos Petrochemical Complex and the Bajo Grande Thermoelectric Plant. Venezuela plans to increase its oil production up to 2 million barrels per day, besides exporting gas for the first time in its history. And the Great Jungle of southeastern Venezuela is a large forest with rock formations rising up to the sky. The Great Savanna, where the Canaima National Park is located and which in 1994 UNESCO declared a World Heritage Site, is an earthly paradise that invites us to explore its wonders.
Canaima National Park, whose surface area exceeds 3 million hectares, is among the 6 largest national parks in the world. A territory dominated by tepuis. These flat-top plateaus have been carved over millions of years, and some even reach heights of up to 3,000 meters above sea level. A unique landscape on Earth that harbors an incredible biological variety.
Que alberga una increíble variedad biológica.
This park is home to more than 700 species of birds, 100 species of mammals, and thousands of plants. It is a fragile and valuable ecosystem, where nature expresses itself in all its splendor. Waterfalls such as the Churin Meru, the highest in the world, rivers that cross the savanna, and colorful lagoons that reflect the sky, complete this picture of incomparable beauty.
Completan este cuadro de belleza incomparable. El valor de Canaima no es
The
solo
value of Canaima is not only environmental, but also political and historical. In 1999, the Venezuelan Constitution recognized the rights of indigenous peoples to their ancestral lands, and it stood as a living result of this new relationship between the state and the native peoples. The stories tell tales of struggle. Since its creation in 1962, the park would have been under siege by forces such as illegal mining and deforestation. However, thanks to collective efforts involving Pemen communities, environmental groups, and even the Venezuelan government, it has managed to protect this natural treasure for future generations. Canaima is a unique gift that Venezuela offers to the world, a place where nature manifests itself in all its grandeur and where cultures remind us of the importance of living in harmony with the planet.
recuerda la importancia de vivir en armonía con el planeta.
Like this, we have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website, telesurenglish.net. So join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For Telesur English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.